Good evening, you're watching No Spin. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Well, food prices have gone up and so has unemployment, but the focus of our main political party seems to be anything but that. The Goa Congress fell apart today with 8 MLAs out of their 11 joining the BJP, and the Congress accused the BJP essentially of bribing them. And while the political bickering continues, the fact is that both inflation and the jobs crisis is really hurting people. The Centre for Monitoring Indian Economy, or the CMIE, has been doing regular surveys for years now on unemployment data, and their latest report for August shows that unemployment is at a one-year high. Joining us now is Mahesh Vyas, the head of the CMIE. Mahesh Vyas, thanks for being with us. Your latest data shows that India's unemployment rate in August rose to 8.3%, which is the highest unemployment rate in the past 12 months. Now, what is the primary reason for this? Because we're talking about this at a time when people are facing the double whammy of joblessness along with high food inflation.
Well, that's true. The combination of the two is called the misery index. So the misery index, the combination of inflation and unemployment, is rising. What happened in the month of August on the unemployment front is that the labor force expanded, which means that more people came into the labor market to look for employment, but the economy could not provide them with employment. The labor force expanded by 4 million, but the labor markets actually shed 2 million jobs. So the jobs shrunk and the unemployment rate went up.
And what was the main reason for that?
That's a little more difficult to explain. It's too early. We get these headline numbers on a monthly basis, but an explanation of that will take a little longer to find out. But all I can say is that the story in the earlier months was that the rains had failed, and therefore agriculture could not absorb as many jobs as it usually does during the monsoon times. But what happened in the month of August is, while agriculture did shed some jobs, salaried jobs also came down. So that it looks like there was a larger kind of stress in the economy that seems to have been under play.
And are you therefore then more concerned about the rural sector? I mean, you made a mention of it just now, the fact that uneven rain, etc., could impact it more deeply?
It has caused stress already, and that stress cannot be undone very easily. You cannot quickly, a lot of people work in agriculture during the Kharif season, and since the rains were inadequate, particularly in the Uttar Pradesh, Bihar region, this is the source of where the problem arises. I'm not very concerned about this in the sense that these things do happen. Employment does go up and down a little bit. So I think we will adjust around this. This is not like a calamity or a crisis. This is a slow burning, insidious kind of a problem where the employment is not rising and unemployment kind of remains elevated.
But can you take us through the statewise data as well? I found that particularly interesting because, there are sharp differences. Like in August, for example, unemployment was the highest in Haryana at 37.3%, followed by Jammu and Kashmir at 32.8%, but it was the lowest in Chhattisgarh, Meghalaya, Maharashtra, Gujarat and Orissa. So what explains these wide disparities between states?
See, many of these are structural issues. So there are many states which are largely agrarian, and agriculture absorbs a lot of people, and the employment in agriculture is also largely informal. So you can easily start saying that I'm a farmer working on the farms. You may not be very productive, but you'll still be called employed. Haryana has a bigger challenge. It is an industrial state. It is a state that attracts a lot of people from the neighborhood to work in industry and the services sector. So since the number of people coming into Haryana to look for jobs is very high, and these are times when growth is a little stressed, unemployment in Haryana looks like it is very high. That is because it's an industrial state, not so much an agrarian state. Agriculture does not absorb the kind of people that are in Haryana looking for jobs. They are more educated. They're looking for jobs in the non-farm sector. Whereas you take neighboring Uttar Pradesh, the proportion of farm jobs over there is much larger. So people get more easily absorbed over there. The pressure on the state is much lesser. Chhattisgarh has got less pressure of industry and therefore has got a low unemployment rate. Rajasthan is industrializing in the north and therefore the unemployment rate is high. So these are not things that change too dramatically too fast. Haryana, Rajasthan, Jammu and Kashmir have seen high unemployment rate for a long time.
Well, that's interesting. There is, however, another new survey that's just come out which actually claims that the labour market is indicating strong sentiments in the fourth quarter of this year, with nearly 64% of companies that they surveyed expected to hire much more. And this is according to the Manpower Group Employment Outlook survey. And they're saying that when compared to the same period last year, hiring sentiments have improved by 10 percentage points. This seems to be at variance with what you're saying. What do you think of this?
I haven't seen the study in detail. There's a press release which I have gone through. What it says is not very surprising. You look at the Manpower survey data or you look at the EPFO data, you see lots of companies are always hiring people. There's no running away from this fact that there are companies that will always keep on hiring people. Some people retire, some people are replaced, different kinds of people are required. So if you go and ask companies, are you hiring? There will be a % of companies who will say, yes, we are hiring people and we want lots of people. So that is only a small view. And mind you, when companies are hiring, we are talking about only 20% of the jobs in India. Only 20% of the jobs are salaried people. The rest of them are like farmers and daily wage workers and small traders and small businessmen. So these surveys will not capture those people. And you can agree with me that the stress is largely in the informal segments.
So then finally, Mr. Vyas, what is the outlook then in your view for the months ahead?
Well, you know, the challenge is to see a pickup in investments. We require companies and large companies to employ in a big way, and they will do that only if they invest a lot more. What we are seeing is that companies don't have adequate reasons to invest in large numbers and not in labor-intensive industries. So there are challenges going ahead, and I think we should keep a close eye on that.
Mahesh Vyas, thanks very much for joining us there. So Mahesh Vyas of the CMIE giving us a sort of a detailed look at the unemployment situation in the country. But guess what? Politically, we're talking about everything but this. Supriya Srinath of the Congress is with us. PKD Nambiar, political analyst and BJP supporters with us. Zainab Sikandar, columnist and writer, also joining us. Mr. Nambiar, isn't this what the BJP needs to be focusing on? Then Rahul Gandhi and his Bharat Jodo Yatra or Operation Lotus, now it's happened in Goa. Why isn't the BJP talking about this? Why isn't it talking about unemployment and high food inflation? I'm afraid we have a problem with Mr. Nambiar's audio. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But Zainab Sikandar, let me take that to you first. I mean, just the whole narrative. It's to talk about anything but this. To the Congress's credit, it is talking about it, but perhaps it needs to hammer the point home more. But the main question is for the ruling dispensation today, that they're not addressing these issues as they should be.
Yeah, see, democracy uses election as a means to an end, and the end is governance. Unfortunately, what's happening in India right now is that election is being used as the only way to work forward. India has become a 24/7, 12 months a year electioneering country. All we do are in election mode, and the priority is staying in power, and that's what we see all year round, be it earlier Maharashtra and now in Goa. And this is a trend that's been going on. But what I truly believe is that eventually people will start to get irritated by this continuous trend of the government of the day, especially BJP, going into this over-ambitious mode of forever trying to stay in power. In Goa especially, when they're already in power and all they're doing are these defections, it's just another chest-thumping exercise in my opinion. They were already in power, so they didn't need to move away. I wish that the Chief Minister, Mr. Pramod Sawant, was more interested in, announcing, how he's making more developments in Goa instead of talking about, Congress Chodo and all that. So this is just another political drama, political nautanki. and it's getting a bit too much. Even Modi supporters, even BJP supporters, after a while will start to get irritated because there is an overload of these chest thumping, sort of BJP moments that they have, that, oh, now, we have gone from 20 to 28 in the, in the government, and now we are in majority, and we are the ones, who always,
Mr. Nambiar is back with us. In fact,
wins.
let me take the points that you make back to him. Mr. Nambiar, my question earlier as well was that isn't this what the government needs to be focusing on? I'm sure you would admit that both unemployment and food prices are hurting people. Instead, the BJP's headlines are all about Rahul Gandhi attacking Bharat Jodo, also todoing governments now in Goa. So, where is the focus on the Aam Aadmi's problems?
Well, I don't know what makes you think that the government is not thinking about inflation or price or the price rise or even the unemployment. I think these are facts which we all understand. There are reasons for it, but in the meantime, we also hear every second day. In the last week only, we got to know that we are growing at the the last quarter of this financial year. We are growing almost 13.5%, and we have become the fifth largest economy.
No, but that's a misleading number because it was compared to a lower base. So you can't say we're growing at 13%. Mr. Nambiar, that's not correct. And also, please address the fact that unemployment is up. It's at a one-year high. Isn't that what the BJP should be focusing on?
The CMI data which the Mr. Mahesh was explaining, and I was listening to that entire interview with him, that he was just talking about that the informal sector in India is cyclical, and definitely it keeps changing from time to time. And then when there is a large amount of workforce coming into the market, definitely there will be little bit of here and then. But there is a truth, because we just came out of a crisis, that is a COVID crisis. From there, here we are recovering. Our GST collections are going up and up. Our private companies in the tourism sector and many other sectors which were not opened up so far is slowly becoming operational.
My question is this, that you are not the BJP, you support them, but they are not the ones, Supriya Srinath, they are not the ones answering your questions or Rahul Gandhi's questions. You're bringing this up in Bharat Jodo, but the response from the other side is, okay, he's wearing an expensive t-shirt.
Nidhi, I have acute stomachache this evening, and if I go to my doctor and I tell her that I have stomachache and she rubbishes me and poo-poos me, how is she going to diagnose my problem? How am I going to get relief? And that's the classic case with the BJP government. The country is ailing under the double whammy of high prices and low jobs, low growth. Look at the IIP data that just came in. It's fallen from a base high of 12.3% to 2.3% for the month of July. Look at the inflation numbers and look at the rural economy picture. Rural economy average inflation is at 7.1%. It's even more than the average inflation of India. Jobs have vanished. The government wants you to believe, and let me quote the finance minister exactly a week back. Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman was on record to say inflation is not a red-lettered priority. In a developing economy, if inflation is not a red-lettered priority, then please explain me what is. And this is a double whammy because you're also reeling. No, sir, 1 second, I'm still speaking. You are also reeling under no jobs and less income. And let me point out just one last data that viewers need to know. Each time you tell them that, India is facing problems, they say, yeah, but we've become the 5th largest economy. There's inflation in all parts of the world. Who do you compare us against? You will compare us against UK? The per capita average income, the average income of a person in the United Kingdom is 7 times that of India, 10 times that of India in the US, and 14 times. Our average per capita is $6,590. In the country of Singapore, people are making $90,000. So the per capita is 14 times.
Okay, Mr. Nambiar wanted to come in.
It's a huge concern. And they don't just seem to want it. They just seem to rubbish every data you throw at them. They do not want to confront the problem. How are they going to diagnose it if they continue to live in denial? That's my bigger concern.
Okay.
And the number of people, Nidhi, that we are meeting in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, we are keeping our attention squarely on these two issues.
All right. So let me ask Mr. Nambiar. Mr. Nambiar, why doesn't the BJP answer when they hold their briefing, sure, go ahead and attack Rahul Gandhi for his t-shirt or whatever. But what about the substantive points that are being raised on rising prices and on unemployment?
I'll tell you the political part first, because
Yes.
since Supriya ji finished with that. The Bharat Jodo Yatra and the Rahul Gandhi is in focus because he does the hit and run. Few days ago in the Ramlila Maidan, he had given the price list of arar ka dal, moong ka dal ka price se leke per liter aata kitne mein milta hai. Now the problem is that he has never gone to a market and bought it. Maybe like a person like you, me and go. Definitely there is no doubt that over the last few years, ever since maybe even before that, I don't want it Supriya ji to just jump in and say that ever since this government has come in since then, let us accept the fact that there is an inflation, and I am not a person who will blindly come and say there is no inflation, there is no unemployment. But there are challenges in this country was facing in the last 2-3 years, which is way different from many other people. We are a 140 crore people country. You don't compare with Singapore and India. So then if that is the kind of index you wanted to compare, then let us compare us with so many other things. You said the UK. We are not. I am not. I'll be fool enough to compare UK and India as an economy and the per capita income. But what all I said is that India's economy is growing. It is surpassed the GDP of UK in the first quarter or in the last year. If that is a very positive sign for an economy like India. Definitely, we are a large country, we are a large economy, diversified economy. We have got
that may all be true. That may all be true. But you know what? GDP numbers mean nothing to the average guy on the street who needs a job. Okay, it's just high sounding. You know, this high funda data, which sounds great. I'll just come to you. I'll just come to you.
One more second.
Because one second, I'll just come to you. Because I want to get Zainab in on this, on controlling the narrative. Because the BJP is doing that successfully, isn't it? Even the coverage of the Bharat Jodo Yatra has largely focused on the sort of politics and other sort of frivolous issues. Very few people are actually talking about some of the substantive issues that have been raised, aren't they?
But that is the signature of BJP. They do tend to talk about the frivolous topics, and for some reason, you know, that is what makes news. The headlines are always frivolous, or the headlines are always very, toxic, talking about either religion or mosques and temples, and now Burberry t-shirts and whatnot. The basic point is, I don't want to get into data. Like you rightly said, the common man doesn't understand this. But what we understand is, what is the priority for BJP? And the priority is always winning elections or staying in power, defections, taking MLAs to resorts, making them stay there. This entire thing has become a bit too much. And that is the problem. That is the question that needs to be answered, that it's not just about what the numbers are and how they compare previously and to other countries in the world. It's about how BJP is governing India.
Mr. Nambiar, on that criticism about defections in Goa, and then I'll let Supriya answer that.
Precisely, I wanted to complete that. One part is that is the Congress MLAs are out there for sale? You can only buy something which is out for sale.
So you're saying the BJP is buying them? So they are buying them?
Number two.
So they are buying them?
One second, Nidhi. Out of 250 MLAs which are defected over the last maybe 1 year or 2 years or 5 years, why it is almost 99% of the MLAs are gone from Congress, not from Aam Aadmi Party, not from CPIM, not from Biju Janata Dal, not from JDU. Why it is only the people are predominantly leaving only one particular party, that is called as Congress? I will give you the explanation also for that. I don't want the Supriya ji to waste her time for that, because the people leave a corporate or a job when their bosses are not right. When your company or your organization do not have a leadership.
But what is the BJP's priority? Is it to fix the economy or to have a Congress Mukt Bharat? Is the BJP's priority to fix the economy or have a Congress Mukt Bharat?
I think this is what I precisely wanted to say, that in the last 60 years, Supriya ji should answer this. 60 years Congress ruled, almost 75 years of Azadi ka Mahotsav, Amrit Mahotsav abhi hum mana rahe hain. Let me ask you that in this country there is no semiconductor, which is the primary, one of the smallest part which needs to be there.
Okay,
in
Supriya, do you want to jump in? Last 2 minutes.
Today, the first
Supriya.
day we are
Nidhi, PKD, it's my turn to speak. My name is Supriya. PKD, my name is Supriya. PKD, relax. Nidhi, look at their moral and intellectual bankruptcy. How bankrupt they are morally and intellectually. They focus on a slip of tongue which he quickly corrected. But they do not want to answer कि आटे का दाम 22 से 40 कैसे हो गया? How did milk become 35 to 60? And how did 24% children stop drinking milk and they're suffering from malnutrition? They will not explain how gas cylinder went up from 410 to 1200. They will not explain how groundnut oil went from 90 to 220 per liter. They are not going to explain why oil in the global market has fallen from $110 a barrel to 88 and our government has not reduced the price. That's moral and intellectual bankruptcy. And PKD, just for your information, let me tell you, I don't want to make the comparison between US, UK and Singapore, but it is the BJP, it is people like you who keep saying, देखिए दुनिया में कितनी महंगाई है, मुझे क्या फर्क पड़ता है दुनिया की महंगाई से, हमारे यहाँ गरीबी आपने बढ़ाई है, you have pushed 23 crore people below the poverty line and you want me to comprehend महंगाई दुनिया में कितनी है, वहाँ पे per capita income कितनी है. And one last point that I want to make, it is absolutely shameless, brazen and morally bankrupt of you to turn around and say 140 crore people, we have to feed them what to do. You are okay getting the votes of those 140 crore people. You want to use them as a vote bank. You want to use them as your divisive politics. But when it comes to taking care of them, when it comes to creating jobs for them or bringing down prices for them, you want to use this as an excuse. How morally?
All right, I'm completely out of time. I'm completely out of time. Thank you so much to both of you, to Zainab and to both of you for joining us. I think the question though is, will the government actually come forward and make the economy the front and center of the issues that it wants to tackle, whether it's through party press briefings or government press briefings, whether it is addressing unemployment, which is at a one-year high, as we said, or rising food prices. All of that is hurting the common man. Is anyone listening? We don't know. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.